Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you the exact process that we use to make our flows better. I'll share the exact flow split testing strategy, and if you're watching this video, you probably already know that split testing is absolutely crucial. But here's the thing, most brands and even most agencies don't split test, and those who do don't have a framework or a strategy behind their testing. We do. And it's this framework that's helped us continually improve already good performing flows. And it's the same framework that's helped us generate 75% more revenue from an already successful welcome series for another client. So let's dive in. Now, whenever we're doing any sort of split testing, we always want to start with the steps that have the highest possible leverage. So highest leverage here just really means that we're changing the one thing that's going to have the biggest impact on the rest of the email ecosystem. Now, it's not good enough to just split test to split test. It's important to understand why you're split testing and what your actual goals are from the split test. So the first thing we usually want to test and optimize is the pop-up, simply because if we get more people opted in through the pop-up, we get more people into our email ecosystem, which means more revenue from flows and more revenue from campaigns. If you want to learn a little bit more about split testing your pop-up, there's a full video on that on my channel as well, so just go ahead and check that out. Now, just before diving into the flow split testing, it's super important to understand that there's two different types of split tests that we can run, and when each one of them is actually beneficial. So the first type of split test is sequential testing. Now, sequential testing is basically just testing two variables, one after the other. So for example, you run a pop-up with a 10% off offer from April 1st to April 15th, and then you run a pop-up with a free shipping offer from April 15th to the 30th. Now, sometimes with campaigns, for example, you need to do sequential testing versus simultaneous testing, which is the other piece. But with sequential testing, you have two different time windows, which means there's variables outside of your control that could impact the results of the split test. So if you had one promotion one week and not the other, for example, or if you're selling bathing suits in Vancouver and weather heated up from April 16th to the 30th, things are going to be impacted. The conversions are going to change and your split test may be skewed. So again, whenever you're split testing, the goal is to limit the variables that could possibly impact your results. Now, the second type of split testing is simultaneous testing. So with simultaneous testing, the traffic will be split between two or more variables. So assuming you run the test long enough and collect enough data points, you'll have eliminated at least one of those variables. So this leads to one other thing that we need to clarify before we dive into the meat and potatoes here. That is statistical significance. I struggle with that literally every time. It is absolutely crucial to ensure that your tests are actually statistically significant. If you are A/B testing on a platform like Klaviyo, it'll actually tell you if the test was statistically significant or not, and this makes it a lot easier. But it's also super important to think for yourself here. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you decide you want to split test the timing for a campaign, and you set up a split test on Klaviyo to split test the send time at 8 a.m. versus 5 p.m. Sales start rolling in, your open rates and click rates and purchase rates are way higher at the 5 p.m. send time. Klaviyo deems this as statistically significant, but it's only statistically significant, again, for this one test. Just because the 5 p.m. send time outperformed in this test, it doesn't mean that the 5 p.m. send time is 100% optimal for all tests moving forward. So in order to figure that out, you need to run the same test across multiple campaigns. And then depending on how many campaigns you're sending, really you might want to test this out over between 6 and 12 campaigns to see if they heed the same results. Now, beyond this, you need to make sure you have a goal and a target for the test. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve, then you're going to have no idea if you actually achieved it. Now, when it comes down to email flow split testing, again, you want to take the highest leverage areas. So the first thing you want to do is determine where is my biggest bottleneck. And really what it comes down to with email is open rates, click rates, or conversion rates. If your open rate is 10% and your click rate is 0.8%, even though your click rates aren't the best, it doesn't really matter. You need to focus on improving your open rates first, right? Any improvement in open rates are going to trickle all the way down and get more clicks anyways. Now, if you increase your open rates to 50% and you change literally nothing else, you'll get 400% more clicks just because you're getting 400% more people opening your emails. This is crucial with any sort of email split testing. Focus on the highest leverage, earliest stage in the email funnel. Beyond that, if you're just starting to split test, you'll also want to focus on the flows that are actually going to have the biggest impact on revenue and profit. Now, just before we dive into that, let me show you how we do our flow split testing. So if we're focused on the highest leverage, earliest stage in the email funnel, usually it's going to come down to either open rates or click rates where something is getting impacted. Conversion rates are a bigger topic with a ton more variables, but let's dive in here. Well, what are some tests to improve open rates? Well, your open rate target is going to vary by industry and by brand, depending on what flow it is and a variety of other things. That's the first thing we got to figure out. What's your actual target? For example, the first email in the welcome series should have a much higher open rate than the second email in the abandoned cart flow. People are opting in and should get a special offer, so they should be excited to get your email, and this is why you should have a very high open rate. As a minimum here, you should be targeting 35 to 40% open rates with all of your flows, but the first email of the welcome series and the first email of the thank you series should be over 50%. Now, here's a few different things that you can test to improve open rates if you're not at that level yet. First is subject lines. So test two different types of angles. Try curiosity versus a direct benefit, or social proof versus scarcity, or a direct offer versus a question. The next thing you can test is time delays. Now, this can be super impactful with flows like the browse abandonment and the abandoned checkout. And basically, you just want to do a conditional split for the various different send times. Third thing is preview text. Now, preview text won't have quite as much of an impact as open rates as the subject line will, but split testing these different variables can help to improve your open rates incrementally. So you could test things like including reviews and social proof versus not. You could try scarcity versus urgency. You could try curiosity versus something that's more pain point driven. Now, the fourth thing you can test is simply just testing the sender name. So who you're sending from. Now, you're going to be a little bit limited on what you can test here just because you don't want to break any email sending laws, but test sending as the company, for example, versus sending as the founder. We've done that in the past and it's heated some pretty good results. Now, a bonus here. So if you are experiencing open rate issues that are far worse than normal, you may not actually have an open rate issue. You may have a deliverability issue. At the end of the day, if people aren't receiving your emails in their inbox, i.e. they're going to spam, obviously they can't open them. Keep that in mind. If you're having deliverability problems, go check a video on our YouTube channel as well. There's another one that goes through deliverability and improving that A to Z. Okay, so if open rates are rock solid, what are some tests that you can use to improve click rates? Now, the main metrics you want to track here are click rates, click to open rates, which is unique clicks divided by unique opens, and then click-through rates, which is emails clicked divided by emails sent minus the emails that were bounced. Now, there's a lot of variables that impact click rates, and your target click rates are going to vary pretty dramatically, pretty much on the same factors as the open rates. So different campaigns, different flows are going to have different click rates, and your expectations and standards should be higher depending on which email you're sending. Now, if you haven't seen our design SOP, make sure you go check that out. We have a full step-by-step exactly how we design and optimize our emails so that we're not missing out on any crucial design elements and we're not heading to spam or we're not getting our emails clicked because of that. So beyond that, start with the offer. Again, the offer in the email is going to have the biggest impact on your results. The next thing that people are going to see, or really the first thing that people are going to see, is the header image. Now, usually we will have the offer in the header image, but typically you're going to have an image or a GIF in the header, GIF. We usually opt to test radically different things here. So things like having a model versus not having a model, like just having a product shoot, doing a benefit image versus a pain point driven image, urgency versus scarcity, offer versus benefit or pain point. A variety of different things you can test there. Now, the next piece is just looking at the overall design. And as a general rule of thumb, keep things simple. Tweaking the design and the layout and the flow of an email can really impact click rates too. So again, check out our design SOP if you do have questions about that. Now, in terms of body copy, similar to other tests here, this isn't going to be like one of the top things, but we're going to test similar things like benefits, pain points, social proof versus authority, urgency versus scarcity. But another one, in addition to the body copy, which is kind of like embedded in the body copy, is the CTAs. Now, this is a huge piece. CTAs should always pop, but a few different tests we might run are just different colors. You could do benefits versus pain points. You could do different calls to action, but it's really, really important, again, follow that design SOP, because you want to make sure, for example, you have at least 2 CTAs, you will have one above the fold, one towards the bottom of the email, and a number of other things. Okay, so you can run these tests on pretty much any flow you want, but where you want to start is the highest leverage flows. Now, typically, those are either going to be high volume or high proximity to checkout. Okay, so a few high volume flows. The first is the welcome series. Now, the welcome series is going to be one of, if not the highest traffic flow for your store. Everyone who opts in through your pop-up will be added to this flow, so you want to make sure you optimize this until the cows go home. Now, welcome email tests that you can do. And typically, we start with welcome email 1. So we test with personalization or without personalization. We can do this with any of the emails in the welcome series, but if you're collecting zero-party data in your pop-up, which I'd recommend doing, split testing different welcome flows based off of this zero-party data can go a long way. It will help to improve your conversion rates, your click rates, and pretty much everything across the board. For example, if you sell men's and women's clothing, collect information about what your customers are shopping for, i.e. if it's men's, women's, or both, and then split test a flow for each gender. This test that we did actually led to a 75% increase in placed order rates for one of our clients. Next, you can look at benefits. So which emails is this in? Well, it's typically going to be the welcome 1 or welcome 2. What we're going to do here is just test different benefits of our products to see which one resonates more with certain customers. Typically, what we'll do here is if we have a client with 2 to 3 different core benefits, we try creating a split test with very similar designs and structure, but with a focus on different benefits in each email. Bonus here, with that zero-party data you're trying to collect, try to make sure this is actually regarding the main reason your customers are shopping with you, i.e. what their biggest pain point is or the biggest benefit they're looking for. This will go a really long way, and it'll help understand your customers a lot more and really like help you understand more what they're looking for. The next piece is the offer. So this could be all of the emails in the welcome series. And if you're split testing your pop-up, one of the first things you're going to want to do is actually split test the offer. It can be super, super worthwhile to just split test, a 5% versus a 10%, a $10 versus a 10%, etc. Another test you can do is the us versus them. So this is usually in the welcome 2 or 3, and this is just sharing a brand story or stacking yourself up against the competitors with an us versus them style email. Showing the pros and cons of both you and the alternative, like other kind of competitors, will show customers why you are the best choice. Now, the second high volume flow that we look at is the browse abandonment flow. It's typically one of the top, 3 to 4 revenue producing flows. So it's definitely worthwhile testing this out. People at this stage didn't make it any further than your product page. Now, typically this is going to be because either they were not convinced about your product or they were not convinced about you. Now, we usually start the browse abandonment flow with a simple reminder or indecision email followed by an email highlighting some of the best sellers. A couple different tests here that we can do. One is a time delay. You can do this on the entire flow. And we almost always start off with this with our clients. So we usually split test 3 to 4 different time delays, anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours. If we notice the 30-minute time is performing best, sometimes we'll take that one step further and be like, let's test a 15, 30, and 45. Now, if you don't have a lot of monthly website traffic, i.e. less than 10K a month, you might just want to start with 2 send time delays. The next piece is the benefits. Now, you typically want to do this in browse abandonment 1, where we're testing out different benefits of your products just to see which one resonates more with customers. Similar to the welcome series, if you've got 2 to 3 core benefits, try creating a split test for it with, again, very, very similar design for each of these different benefits or pain points that you solve for. Okay, so those are a few of the high volume flows. Now the next piece is your high proximity flows. So your abandoned checkout is going to be number 1 here. Now the abandoned checkout flow is usually either going to be the first or the second highest revenue producing flow for your brand. It's very, very close to the purchase completion, and people are obviously very high intent at this stage. People who don't complete their checkout usually have one of the following objections. Usually it's either shipping price, shipping time, product cost, or they don't trust you, or maybe they just forgot. First thing we test here is just a time delay. So we test it on the entire flow, and it's similar to the browse abandonment flow. We almost always start this with a 3 to 4 different time delay split test. Again, same deal here. If we notice the 30 minutes is performing best, we'll sometimes take this a step further and test 30 minutes versus 15 versus 45. Now the next piece is personalization. This is different than the welcome series, and we can do this for pretty much all the abandoned checkout emails as well. But there's 2 different ways that you can actually personalize this. The first is to leverage zero-party data that you would obtained in the pop-up, just to more kind of directly agitate people's pain points and provide benefits that are most aligned with the problems people are experiencing. But the second way is great for stores with low product SKUs, or if 70, 80, or 90% of your revenue comes from one SKU. What we do is we build out your custom abandoned checkout flows for specific SKUs. So instead of receiving a generic abandoned checkout series, customers receive one that is specifically tailored for the product they were just about to purchase. Another thing you can test out with the abandoned checkout is offers. Now, this is usually going to be with emails 4, 5, and 6, because that's the last thing we really want to handle. So in the abandoned checkout emails 4 or 6, typically we're trying to solve for that final objection, which is price. Most brands just start right out the gate by offering a discount, but it doesn't work as well as it could be because you're really not speaking to all of the other objections that people might have depending on their stage in the journey. So for most of the brands we work with, we provide some sort of incentive in emails 4 to 6. Testing out various offers here or different ways that you can incentivize people to purchase can go a really long way here. Now, scarcity versus urgency is going to be the last, or one of the last things that we test here. Usually this is going to be with abandoned checkouts 3 and 5. And usually what we want to do is only create scarcity if there actually is scarcity, but create urgency by maybe making a code that expires after a certain time. Now, the last piece here is objections. Now, one of the other things you can test with the abandoned checkout 2 and 3 is objections. So people who don't complete their checkout, again, typically have one of those 4 objections that we mentioned. Leveraging this and testing out handling various different objections can help you narrow down on what's most important to your customers, and ultimately will help you kind of create better marketing language for other channels too. Now, the other high proximity flow to test is the post-purchase flow. Now, there's a lot that you can do here, but it's going to be one of the best opportunities to get your customers to just buy more. After all, the best time to get people to purchase and to buy more is right after they just bought from you, especially if you can give them a special offer to complete their purchase and just add to their order immediately. Leveraging their excitement and aiming to increase revenue right out the gate here will help a ton with this flow. Okay, so the first thing we want to test here is just offers. It's pretty self-explanatory. Usually that's going to be in the post-purchase email 1 or 2. And this is a good opportunity for you to cross-sell or upsell. In either one of these cases, it can be beneficial to just test out different offers and just see what resonates most with people. If it's more of the same, if it's different products, whatever that might be. The other piece is the products. So this is kind of part of the offer, and again, it's going to be in post-purchase 1 and 2, but we may have an opportunity here to cross-sell or upsell depending on the products that they just purchased. Now, if you've just got a few flows, a few SKUs, it can be a really good opportunity to test out just pairing up different products and seeing which products work best as a cross-sell. If you've got a lot of different SKUs, honestly, I'd probably just recommend testing out a dynamic product recommendation or something along those lines. So If you've made it this far, you're doing really well, but here's the last thing here. Conversion rates are completely a different beast. And because of this, there's a whole nother SOP on this, on how to increase your conversion rates. It is a mammoth of a topic, but it's really, really important. Because ultimately, if people aren't converting once they get to your site, you are not doing very well. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please like, subscribe. It really does help out a lot. And if you do have an e-com brand doing over $50,000 a month in revenue, then feel free to reach out, apply below, and we'll see if we can help you out. Thanks so much and have a great day.